Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Paper Crafting Saturday. I'm Leslie Watkins. I hope everybody had a great week. I've had a pretty busy week getting ready to send out the packages for the Texture Chic Journal Workshop, also the Watercolor Card Club, so everything's kind of getting very busy here. But today I wanted to share with you an idea for using the Mistletoe Magic stamp set and the Mistletoe dies. So you get 7 stamps with the stamp set, and the dies have 11, and there are quite a few different ones. So you have your basic shapes, so the framelits will cut out these shapes that you see on the stamp set, but then you also get some very pretty little bits and pieces that you can use as foliage, some berries, a couple of bows, and I'm going to be using quite a few of these dies today. And today's going to be a very kind of a broad demonstration of a lot of different things that you can do with paper crafting. So I'm going to do a little bit of painting with ink. We're going to be using die cuts. I'm going to show you some organic, well, it's not really origami, but I guess it's a kind of a fancy fold, and stamping and some other techniques. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. This is going to be a slightly longer video because on Paper Crafting Saturday at 12 noon, I like to go into a little more depth of some of the projects and the techniques, and that's what we're going to do today. So grab your coffee and get ready for a nice long program. So I'm just checking my settings here, see if I'm broadcasting, and it looks like I am, and it looks like Vicki and Kelly are already here. Hello, Vicki and Kelly, so good to see you. I want to thank you so much for coming back and supporting my channel. The other thing I want to mention is that I also have another private group on Facebook called the Dandelion Paper Pals, and that is open to anybody to join. And what we do there is we share projects that involve the theme or the product or the palette, whatever the current idea is, so that we all get a chance to see what everybody else is doing with the same concept. So if you're interested in participating, if you like this Mistletoe Magic bundle and you're planning on using it, we'd love to see what you end up making. And that's a great place to post it. So just direct message me or go directly to Dandelion Paper Pals and ask to be invited in, and I will let you in, and we'd be very happy to see you there. I have a number of supplies collected here. So I've got some ribbons. I've pulled out the shimmer ribbon in gold. I also have some of the really beautiful soft seafoam ribbon. And what's this called? It's a seam binding ribbon. So it's got that wonderful soft, easy to tie hand to it, and it also has a really beautiful kind of a glimmer to it. So I think you can see that. All of the things, you don't have to write anything down. All the things that I'm talking about here today, and the products, the supplies, anything I'm using will be posted below after I do the video in a link in the description, and you can just click on that link. It'll bring you right to my online store, and you'll be able to do one-click shopping because all the different things will be posted together. So these are the brushed metallic adhesive back dots, and you can see I've been going through them. I love these things. They kind of have a nice organic shape to them. They're not perfectly round, and they come in 3 different colors. The inks I'm going to be using are Sahara Sand and Evening Evergreen. I'll be using an assortment of adhesives. I've gone ahead and I've cut a very vanilla envelope. This is a medium card base, 5.5 by 5.25, and I've already pre-stamped the envelope here. And I began by stitching together a couple of layers. So this is the soft sea foam, and then around the edges you see the soft succulent. Those are the cardstock colors. And then I stitched it with a metallic gold thread around all the sides. So that was going to be my card base, but in the midst of putting things together, I decided that what I really want to do is I want to create a box. And so I made a slightly larger base. So this one measures 4.25 by 6.5. I mean 6.25. 4.25 by 6.25. And that is the measurement of the Texture Chic journal that I created, that I'm going to give you a little sneak peek of today later. So what I'm thinking about doing is using this panel as a lid to the box that I will then use to house my journal, and be able to give it as a presentation box should I decide to give it to somebody for Christmas. So that is my thought behind there. I have a 6 by 6 piece of the Texture Chic DSP. These come in 12 by 12 inch sheets. This is a quarter sheet, and it's got this beautiful gold foiling on one side. And then the other side has these colors that I'll be using in the palette today. So there's Pool Party, Soft Succulent, Evening Evergreen, maybe a little soft sea foam. I also have a piece of the distressed gold specialty paper. And this is such a great example of how one idea leads to the next. So I've been working very hard on the Texture Chic journal workshop, and in that workshop the project involves the front and back cover of the journal, and then there are 7 spreads in the interior of the journal. So I've been using this palette quite a bit, and then when I started playing with the Mistletoe magic, some of these ideas have evolved now into the next stage. And that's one of the things I love so much about the internet, because that's what happens when we post things. And I can post a card idea or a project, whatever it may be, and I get so excited to see what you all do with those ideas, and change them and turn them into something else, and we just bounce the ball back and forth. That's just one of the most rewarding things, I think, about sharing what we do. So I'm always interested in seeing what you do. Don't be shy. I have a little goodie bag. This is one that has various bits and pieces left over from the journal workshop. I don't know if I'm going to be using anything from in here, but I like to have these little collection of die cuts and tags and so forth ready to go. And then what I did to prepare for today's class, or well, it's kind of a class, today's video, is I've cut out a lot of the die cuts using the Mistletoe dies and also the distressed gold paper. So this is what we're going to be focusing on today. I'm going to put these things off to the side, because first thing we're going to do is a little bit of painting. And I have a piece of the Fluid 100 watercolor paper. This measures 3.5 by 5. I have my Sahara Sand ink, and I've got my Mistletoe stamp already mounted. And I think while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mount up that little image as well. I love it when we have the main image and then we've got a little echo image, and I think that might be useful, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp that too. I see Carolyn has joined us from East Texas. Hi Carolyn, nice to see you. Linda is here now. Ginger, I hope it's cooled down a little bit. Where Ginger's on the West Coast, she's been very warm. Oh, there's a lot more. And here's Beverly, great to see you. Danette, you made it, wonderful. Becky from Arizona. And Deb, well, hello ladies. This is going to be a fun project. So as I mentioned earlier, I said grab your coffee because this might be a little bit longer since it's Paper Crafting Saturday, and I've got something very fun to share with you. I'm going to be cutting these shapes out after. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp both of them on the same page. So there we go. I've got a water painter handy, and I'm going to keep using this palette that I started last week. So actually I think it's even 2 weeks old, but it has some of the Crushed Curry, Daffodil Delight, has some what is it? I have to look at the bottle. Not that one. It is Cherry Cobbler. And then I've got some, probably need a little more of this. This is the Soft Succulent, so I'll put an extra drop of that. And while I'm at it, just so I don't run out, I also have some of the Evening Evergreen. So I'll put a drop of that down as well. These ink refillers that we use to refill the inks on the stamp pads are water-based, and they work very much as do watercolors, but they're extremely concentrated, so a tiny little drop goes a really long way. Oh, Ginger says it's down in the 70s today. Yay! Maybe she'll get a bike ride in. I know she likes to go bike riding. Okay, so I'm just going to keep this simple. Now, because the ink is water soluble, let me zoom you in so you can see better what I'm doing. That means that the stamped image is going to bleed a little bit, and that's okay. So if I just take plain water and just kind of run that along the outlines, I think you can see that it creates a kind of a tone, even without adding any other additional ink. So we're going to use that to our advantage. Now I'm going to start with some Soft Succulent, very diluted. And I'm just going to drop that in, give that a little bit of color. The Mistletoe berries are kind of a very pale greenish white. There we go. I'm just putting the slightest tone on there, and then I'm going to use my darker ink, which is the Evening Evergreen, and increase the darkness on the leaves, and just sort of let that soften and flow. If you're a member or a subscriber to the Watercolor Card Club, we're going to be using mistletoe as our subject this month. And if you're a paper crafter who likes to watercolor, this is going to be a great month for you to get this mistletoe stamp set, because you can use, if you can either draw the images that you paint freehand, or you can stamp them ahead of time. And if you're somebody who wants to stamp them ahead of time, this is a great month to begin. And we're also going to be reviewing a lot of the painting basics. So if you're new to watercolor, if it's something that you've always wanted to do or you've always enjoyed looking at, I can help you get started in a very simple, easy way. And you'll be with a wonderful group of ladies. Men are welcome. And we get together once a month in a live Zoom session where I answer all your questions and share with you some watercolor tips and techniques. You can share your paintings on our Facebook group, and it's a lot of fun. Every month you get a kit mailed to you that has all of the materials that you need to create 4 watercolor note cards, and there's also some additional practice paper in there so that you can follow the homework assignment. So there's quite a bit to it, and I really enjoy it, and I think everybody else does too. If you'd like to learn more about the Watercolor Card Club, you can go to my website at dandelioncottagedesign.com, and you'll find a page there that says Watercolor Card Club. I'll also be posting that link below after I do the video today, but if you want to go ahead of time and check that out, you can do it that way. And if you have any questions at all, just let me know, and I'd be happy to do the best I can to give you good answers. Now, if you wanted to, you could very easily use your watercolor pencils to do the same thing. Your Stampin' Blends or your markers. I just love watercolor, and I like the way the pigments move with the water to give you these beautiful effects. So that's my preference. Just keeping this very, very simple. In In the class, I'll talk a lot more about shading and color mixing and creating form, but you can also just very simply paint it as I am now and get a really lovely effect. Beverly says she likes the stamp set. Yeah, I would get it. And she's saying that she's thinking about getting it now. I'd like to just remind everybody that things do occasionally run out. And if you see something that you like, I wouldn't wait too long to go ahead and get it so that you can make sure you have what you want. Particularly with the Christmas and holiday items, because you want to have enough time to create your cards for everybody, and you don't want to wait to the last minute. That's just the worst feeling. I know we've all been there, done that, right? But why not start a little bit earlier this year? This is me talking to myself, not just you all. But start a little bit earlier this year so that you're ahead of the holiday rush, because in no time at all it's going to be, Thanksgiving, Halloween, and if you can figure out what you want to do now for Christmas, make sure that you have all of the materials that you need. I think I think you'll feel a lot better as we get closer to the holidays. Okay, so I think I'm just about done here. Okay, so I'm a little bit off camera. Sorry, y'all. There we go. Let me get back into the frame here. Sorry, I think I was slipping forward as I was working. Just want to warm up some of these leaves a little bit. So I'm just going to add a little more yellow to the mix here. Just a drop. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to put this aside to dry just for a moment. And while this is drying, I'm going to do a little bit of gluing of my die cuts. I've been keeping it fair. I'm not using a lot of water, just enough to pull the ink around, but not so much that it will take too long to dry. So depending on what your climate is, where you live, excuse me, will affect how much water you actually use as you're doing your painting. Okay, so there it is. And I'm just going to put this over here. I'll zoom you back out again. All right, and now this is my card base, or box base, as this particular case is. Now I've got some of these pieces that I've cut out using the dies, and the distressed gold specialty paper is a little thin, and I wanted it to have a little more bulk to it because this piece is not going to be glued down entirely. And so what I did was I went ahead and I die cut another piece out of the very vanilla thick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my silicone craft sheet out. And I'm going to take some of my glue, put a little bit of glue, just a dot. And for this I'm going to use my tweezers, and I'm just going to kind of pounce my die cut on this very delicate shape with all of these very thin little pieces. And then what I can do is line it up. Excuse me if I get my head in the camera here, but I've got to get this just so. There we go. Now you could also use the adhesive sheets to do this as well, but I just kind of like the way that comes out. There we go. And give that a little bit of a burnish, make sure it's stuck down well. All right, put that aside. Now, I am going to use the 6x6 DSP to make a little envelope using the diaper fold. So with the DSP, sometimes you have a foil or a sparkly side or some sort of a specialty finish. And in this case, I want this to be on the outside of my project because this is the part that's going to show the most. So I'm going to begin by folding it diagonally. So I'm just making sure that my corner meets up nicely. Give that a burnish. Okay, then I'm going to take this corner, and I'm going to fold that right to the tip there. Okay, so I get something that looks like that. And then these sides are going to fold right at this point where this fold is. So I'm just going to fold that in. It's going to overlap a little bit. Get the other side. Okay, so there's my little envelope shape. And to hold this in place, I'm going to use a glue dot. Have to have glue dots. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple on here. I'll put one underneath as well. It's stuck to my finger. There we go. Okay. So now I've got a little pocket that I can slip things into. I think it's a little bigger than I want it to be. So you know what? I'm going to overlap these a little bit more. I'm going to take these up again. There we go. That's more of the shape that I'm looking for. Okay, so something like that. So I want to put this sort of at an angle on my base, like that. But before I do, I want to do a little bit of shading underneath where the envelope's going to go. So I'm using the Evening Evergreen ink for this. I've got some scrap paper. And I'm going to start in the area under the envelope, and then I'm just going to soften that up into this corner. And a little bit down below. But I want my darkest area to look something like that. All right. You'll see why in just a minute. I've got my gold ribbon here, and I want to adhere that to the back of my envelope. So for that, I've got my tearing tape. Find the end. I'm going to put that about 1.5 inches from the bottom. Give that a good burnishing down. Stick my ribbon down. See if I can get a nice little bow on here. Okay, so that's going to get mounted on there like that. Before I mount it on there, I just want to show you how. Let me find my goodies here. You can use this as a wonderful stocking stuffer. You can put a Ghirardelli chocolate square in there and put that in somebody's stocking or on your box front. Okay. So the idea here is that the sponging that I did with the ink or the inking gives a kind of a shadowy effect in the background there. So that's what we've got so far. That is the basic idea, but now we're going to decorate it further. So I'm going to put my ink aside. I'm going to take out my cut and emboss machine. I've got my watercolor or my ink painting, and now I want to make sure that these dies stay in place. So I'm just looking for, let me find my post-it note here. Get that just so. Oops. Has anybody out there figured out what you're going to be using for your Christmas card designs this year? Anybody like this mistletoe set? Maybe I should wait until after I finish the card to ask you that question. Okay. Let's see what these look like. And there are my pieces. Now in the die cuts I made earlier, I cut out a piece of that distressed gold to mount on the back of this, and the way I did that was by cutting it out upside down. So I'm going to do the same thing for this one. I'll show you what I mean. I have a piece of the distressed gold foil paper, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into the machine, but I'm going to put it in upside down because I want to get a reverse shape. I don't want to repeat the same shape. I want two opposites. So the way you do that is just by flipping your paper upside down like so. And run that through. And now I have the shape this time like so. So I can have the painting on one side and the gold on the other. So again, I'm going to get out my glue. I hear the chickens making a racket outside. I had some kind of animal was trying to dig under the coop. They weren't able to make much headway because I have it well protected, but I could see signs of digging. I think it was an opossum. I'm not sure. I'd like to get one of those trail cameras so I could see what goes on in the night. And I'll do just the same for this one. There we go. And I think while I'm at it, I think I want to do a little bit of sponging around the edges here. So I'm going to get out one of my sponges. I keep them in a case like this. I'll just find a green one. There's a green one. I know I use green because I put the cardstock on the back of it. So I just stapled that on there to make a little handle, sort of. And I'm going to get my Evening Evergreen ink pad out again. And I just want to knock down that white edge so it doesn't look so cut out. I think it just gives it a little more of a finished look. Becky says she needs to make some Hanukkah cards. Me too. Me too. I usually use a kind of a winter theme for the Hanukkah. I'll do something that has a lot of blue, maybe silver. But yeah, thanks for the reminder, Becky. That's very true. Somewhere in the holiday mini, there is a Happy Hanukkah stamp. And I don't remember which set it comes in. But if anybody out there is looking for a Happy Hanukkah, I'm pretty sure there is one. If you know which one it is, please let me know. Post it below so that everybody else can go look for it. Okay, I think that's good enough. Cheryl says her grandfather would send fresh cut mistletoe from Texas to us in Illinois. I can remember seeing it growing on the mesquite trees in Texas. That is so cool. You know, I know that there's a number of you out there who are from Texas, and I was actually thinking about that, wondering if you all were able to go out and pick mistletoe. Is that something that you do? I know you have to be careful with it. It's poisonous to animals, so you don't want to have it any place where your pets could get into it. But if you have it growing in your yard, take a picture and post it on the Dandelion Paper Pal page, because I think that's really cool. Okay, so now I've got an assortment of these little cutouts. Some of these little evergreen sprigs, I also did that reverse technique of flipping the paper over so I would have the leaves going in different directions. So I have a very nice assortment of these little things. And I also have an assortment of gold berries. But I don't know, I think I want to keep, let's see, we'll see what one looks like. Yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's very pretty, and it would be very decorative. But I think that in this case, I'm going to go with the watercolor look. So I'm just going to put those little berry shapes aside for now. Now, this is my idea, is to stuff my envelope with all these little pieces. Make like a little bouquet. So let's see. I'll have that poking out in the back, I think. I may have to glue a couple of these things down. But these, the watercolored ones that I painted on the Fluid 100 watercolor paper and then mounted with the gold behind, have a really nice thickness to them. You know, you could experiment. You could try putting some of the shimmery crystal effects on there to turn. I mean, how cute would that be as a little ornament? Very cute. So possibilities there. In fact, you know what? I'm going to grab some. Let's see, what do we have? I'm going to try some of this seam binding and see what that looks like tied around the sprig here. That might be a nice idea. You could also use your gold trim or your linen thread. But I have this handy and it's so darn pretty. I just want to see. If I don't like it, you can always take it off. But I think it's going to be nice. If I can get my fingers through the loop. Oh, I lost it. Let me try that again. Oh, that's really cute. Okay, we'll stick with that. Now, if you wanted to just make a very simple card, let me get that card base out again. Or you could just do something as simple as that, and that would be so pretty. Okay, and you wouldn't even have to do all the stitching that I did here. And then a little tag. Let's see, I have a Merry Christmas here someplace. Okay, so this was what I was planning on doing for you today, something along these lines. But then I thought, let me make that box top. One thing always leads to another. Now I think I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put some mini dimensionals on the back here. I'm going to just put these behind these berry clusters. And the reason I'm doing this is when we get these beautiful kind of filigree dies that have these wonderful shapes, I like to see if I can have them cast a little bit of a shadow on the card underneath them. And I think that this will work out very nicely for that. All right, so I managed to get 5 minis on here. And this is another reason why I wanted to layer up this distressed gold, because it's just a little bit on the thin side for doing something dimensional like this. Okay, and then I'm just I'll put a drop of glue on the bottom here, because this can be flat in the envelope. And I want that to go right up into that corner, like so. Okay, so you see that little bit of a dimension that you get when you use those dimensionals. All right, now this is just going to tuck right in. Maybe the bow's a little bit too much. I don't know. What do you all think? I'll just put the bow inside the envelope. Tuck it in there so that if somebody pulls it out, they'll see it when they pull it out. There you go. All right, and then I have my little sprig here. I've got my tag. And then what I want to do is just put a little bit of these. Where's my craft sheet? It's over here. I want to add some of these fronds, evergreen boughs. So I'm going to do the same thing again. Just going to add a little bit of glue. Doesn't take much. And once the glue is dry, you can just roll it right off of the craft sheet to clean it up. Now I'm not going to show you how to make the box today. I've done a lot of boxes. If you'd like to see some box making videos, you can go back. You can go, probably easiest to go to the YouTube channel and find them there. But I don't want this video to go any longer than it needs to be, because I'm sure you're all anxious to get to your own day and maybe do some paper crafting yourself if you're not already doing that as we go along here today. Okay. And I've got these little ones. I'll put a little echo down below. Oh, there's also this very cute shape. You can see that. You see it's got these little berries on it, so I really like that one. I'll use that one too. Have this coming up so you can see those little berries. One more. Okay, so there's my bottom layer finished. Now I can tuck in my mistletoe. You may or may not want to put that bow on there. I may end up taking it off. I think it's probably a bit much, but I do like it, so I'm going to think about that a little bit. For now, I'll just tuck it down in there. Here's my tag. Okay, let's see what works here. This would be kind of cute. Oops. Yeah, I think I kind of like that. There we go. Oops, I didn't get into the pocket. There we go. So there it is. There's my little pocket of mistletoe. You could probably squeeze some chocolate in there as well. Let's see. Yep, there we go. A little bit of red coming out. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Now don't go just yet, because I promised you a little sneak peek at the Texture Chic journal. Those packages will be going out very soon. So for everybody that signed up for the workshop, thank you so much. I think you're going to love it. And I look forward to seeing you in class. You're going to get the packages a little bit ahead of time so that you can start making your journal. There's a lot of pieces to it, and I want to make sure that you've got enough time to have those things done before our Zoom. So there's my box top. Okay, and here's my journal. So if you could imagine the decoration that I just made on top of the box, something like that. And then you would open up the lid. You'd have your note card. I'm not going to show you the note card because I'll show you a sneak, just a little teaser. So there's the note card. Here's the cover of the journal. I'm not going to show you the entire thing, but I'll show you a couple of pages. So let me take a peek and see which pages I want to show you. All right, well, I'll show you this one. All right. Here's another one. All right, I'll show you one more, and then that's it. There we go. Okay, so there's lots more to it. There's all sorts of flip outs and secret spots and lots of fun decorations. So if I don't want to spoil the surprise for the people that are already registered for the class, but I will mention that I've made a couple of extra kits which I will be offering for sale separately. So if you are someone who was late to signing up or registering for the workshop, you may be able to still order a kit. So that information will be posted in notes from Dandelion Cottage, and you can subscribe to my mailing list and get my newsletters called Notes from Dandelion Cottage, and you can find that link on dandelioncottagedesign.com. I'm going to place all of the links to all the things that I mentioned today in the description below. It'll take me just a little while to do that, so if you want to come back later and find those links, including the supplies, the watercolor card club, how to subscribe to Notes, and more, I will have that ready for you later. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that gave you some ideas. I hope that helped to get you into the Christmas spirit a little bit. It's not that far away. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay well, stay happy, stay creative, and I'll see you next time on Marvelous Monday, right here at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, and also on Wednesday for Watercolor Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. So I hope you have a lot of fun with this, and please post and share what you do. We all want to see. So thank you so much. Bye-bye.